much for tuning in to our next forum. We are live and we have our gentleman today, so I'm very excited. Took some time to get here, some blood, sweats, and tears, but we made it, so God is good. Thank you guys again for tuning in. We have, in honor of our Father's Day, I want to say Happy Father's Day to our great dads over here. Especially to my boo-thing, who's actually fired for the day. He's not the host, he's one of the panelists. So I'll be grilling him like I will be grilling our brother Kyrie. So thanks again for tuning in. Let's get started. Let's see, follow us on, we're on Twitter, Facebook, of course, if you're following us on Facebook Live, linked, and you can get all the information about Relationship Matters Ministries on our website at relationshipmattersministries.com. So if you have any questions or comments during this forum, you most certainly can text it to me or call in at 484-272-5650, as well as just leave your comments, questions, whatever, via inbox, or you can actually leave it on the live feed. So those that are tuning in, thank you so much again. So I wanted to get started simply by introductions. Let's see, tell the world who you guys are, what you do, and we'll start from there before I, yo, I'm so hyped, before I grill you, so.
Well, I think it's very fitting for our guest to go first because y'all know me.
That's messed up. So my name is Kyrie Jackson. Currently a student at Drexel, pursuing a bachelor's in hospitality management. I'm also an ordained elder, father, husband, and that pretty much wraps
it up for you.
Wraps it up for you. Well, y'all know who I am. I'm co-host mostly, but today I'm just a man. But I'm Steph, minister, cable technician at Comcast. I probably did somebody cable that's watching, so other than that, husband, father, like I said, minister, and that pretty much wraps it up for me. DJ, how could I forget?
Oh,
yeah. So some of you know me as DJ Coldplay from TSW Live, Hip Hop Live, so that's also who I am as well. So that pretty much wraps it up for me.
All right, cool. So I wanted to get started. I know the last, I guess probably maybe 2 forums ago, we were discussing women and us, and then all of a sudden I was like, we don't have an opportunity to really sit down and talk to men. We have our, unfortunately, we have our stereotypes of how we portray you guys, especially with you being of color. So I wanted to break down that wall to help our viewers realize, and our women, that all men aren't bad. There are some good guys out here, as well as let's break down the stereotypes.
Yeah. Well, could we start with the first one that you sort of mentioned in our absence, that men aren't sugar honey iced tea?
Well, no, you're not. Sugar honey ice, how to spell it? Sugar honey iced tea, you're none of that. I have experienced men that didn't step up, and that's how we felt at the time. But, just like women aren't, well, some of them aren't sugar honey iced tea.
And the show has officially went off the rails.
Right, you got men, that's out here working, taking care of their families, that's educated, that's intelligent, that's clean, that loves their wives, and if you're in a relationship, that loves their girlfriends. So I wanted to, just have a conversation. I really just wanted to have a conversation. And most importantly, I really wanted to, I know as a woman, I really wanted to pick inside your head, because from what we see to what's in your head doesn't always come out the way y'all would like it to be. So I wanted you guys to have the opportunity to be able to say, this is how I feel. This is why I operate the way I do. Because I think a lot of the times we just don't get it. We don't understand, we don't get it. So we come up with our own, synopsis and everything else. So it's just like, no, that's not how any of that works. This is me. So I really wanted to just dig into that. So I guess the first line of questions, I have so many questions, was I wanted to start off, I guess I'm starting a little heavy, but y'all be all right. I wanted to understand the pressure that you feel as a black man, just being a man, period. How do you feel being a man? Because I know women get their movement, we want to be able to say how we feel, we want to be heard, we want equal rights, we want this. But what about men? What do y'all want, and how has the world pressured you into being who you are or who you're not? That's what I want to start out with.
Yeah, bro. We ain't light skinned. Tell me how you feel.
DJ Coco.
So, y'all thinking, I can see your face. So, has anybody ever asked y'all that question?
It's not too often that we do get asked this question, especially in this type of setting. Whereas though we're open, like the only real setting that we really can open up and talk like this is really at the barbershop.
Oh,
for real, because that's like our sanctuary. That's where we kind of, how you girls say you can lay your hair down. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how we lay our hair down. We go to the barbershop. It's usually just a bunch of us. We getting treated up, getting lines tight, and then we just kind of talk about whatever is on the table, whether it be sports, whether it be current events, whether it be any other thing about relationships. Like that's kind of like the open forum, and we just go for it. But as far as the pressure on the black man, it is a lot of pressure because as we've experienced, in life, the black man has not always been painted in a good picture.
Right.
So, and then especially with me, I can only speak for me. My father wasn't active, so I didn't really, he wasn't active in my life, so I didn't have a quote unquote person to look up to at growing up. Mom was always there. Well, truth be told, and I love my mom, we're in such a better place right now, but my mom wasn't there either. Mm-hmm. So I'm like a special case where I really literally had to raise myself. Mm-hmm. And then I had an autistic brother, which I had to have a hand in raising. So it was kind of hard for me because I literally had nobody to look up to. And if my family is watching, I love y'all. We're in a complete better place. But this is how I felt coming up as a child and as a young adult. I really didn't have that person to look forward to or to give me that example of this is the way I should be doing things, or this is how to do this. This is how to treat a lady. This is how to tie your shoe. This is how to walk correctly. This is how to go to the bathroom correctly. Like, I'm just gonna let it all loose today. So, like, I didn't have that correct thing in front of me I didn't have that portrayal in front of me to look at, or a standard, I should say. That's even a better word. A standard. I didn't have a standard to look at. Not until later on in life, when I was darn near out of school, that's when I started getting what I thought were positive role models in my life, only to find out otherwise. So, the pressure on me was to really find my personal pressure was finding my own way and really finding out how to become a man literally on my own. Like, I had to learn how to wash clothes on my own. Like, I done murdered and destroyed someone before I actually got it right. So that was the pressure that was on me, because I had to literally do it on my own. With a little brother that I was raising. So that was the pressure on me. I'll shut up. I'll let you jump in.
I think the pressure that is on the black man's shoulders, it can be compared to the Greek character Atlas. If you all are familiar with Atlas, Atlas was one of the titans that was punished by Zeus. So he literally had to hold the sky on his shoulders. That's what it's like to be a black man, because you have so many stereotypes and boundaries that you have to break through.
Right.
And just like Steph, I was the only male in the house, and with 3 women.
Oh wow.
My uncle was the man of the house. He had me by like 13 years, I believe, at the time, and he was incarcerated. So that left me. So I'm in the house with 3 different women from 3 different eras. All the emotions, menstruums, everything. And being in this environment, have to understand these things so early on, and being dependent upon even at that age. My grandmother took the role of the provider, and she instituted me in learning how to balance a checkbook at 5 years old. Even sent me to pay the gas bill and electric bill, because she was always working to take care of the whole house. And so these things, it was pressure. I'm talking about being an adolescent between the ages of 5 and 12, learning these things. I started catching a bus at 6 years old in North Philly.
Right.
The 33, and taking my younger brother with me to school as well at 6, 7 years old, and so on and so forth. And I was by myself. So it was like, early on, it was like, I was giving, responsibilities of a grown man at a child's age, right?
Yeah.
And, I had to learn how to cook. Most of the time I was doing all the cooking because everybody else was going every which way, in the house. And even now, like, coming into my collegiate affairs, it's like, of course, the term is thrown around that you're a minority and so on and so forth. But for me, I come from a biracial family, and I'm literally the darkest person in the family on that side of the family. But it really doesn't hit you that you're a minority until you cross certain boundaries where black men typically don't go.
Right.
So like, being at Drexel University, I'm a minority, and it's felt. Having, like one class I was in, I was literally like, I have a class of 30. I think it was like 3 black people in the class.
Wow.
So you figure we're making up a 10th of the population in that class.
Right.
Where there's a 60% percentage of Caucasian, and the other 20 was Asian. So it's like, you have to pass through these proofs and everything. Everyone is filling you out to see what you really think or what you're really capable of. And, it's like the black man always has to measure up. It's like everyone outside of the black culture has a measuring stick to measure like who you are as a person. What are you really capable of? Why are you here? Can you even stay here? And you have to live up to these standards in order to make it. While being while having obstacles thrown in your way because some don't want you to be there.
Right. So, you bring up the educational aspect of it, as far as, your views of the education. I know as a woman, when I went through, I think I saw more black women in my class than I did men. One class we had 30, and it must have been 4 black women and 1 black man. And we was just like, huh? But it's fascinating that you say that, because education is very paramount in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, period. Like, we have universities on every corner, on every block, but yet and still, we're not taking the educational aspect of that serious. And I think a lot of it is probably simply because the mindset is we don't think we can do it, or the other mindset may be financially, but either way, I just find it fascinating that you said out of 30 people, it's just 3. So, we gotta change that. We gotta fix it. As far as just
before you go on, I think a major part of that is because a lot of our older men weren't educated.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said before, that standard wasn't set.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, when you don't have something to look to, it's like, all right, I just got to figure it out my way. All right, well, they didn't go to college, or like I said, as far as I know, my dad didn't go to college. I think he did a lot of he got certifications for different things. Like I believe he went to the OIC building. That's old school. Somebody probably out there know what I'm talking about. With the OIC building, and he got certified in different things. But as far as like the higher education and the higher learning, it was also thought of as like you don't really need all that. So it's like it's not something that is pounded into us. Like get your education, get your education, get your education. Being from North Philly, well, both of us from North Philly, like I said, he had a different set of circumstances than I did. Like I said, I didn't have that person to look up to. Like my mom wasn't telling me to go to college, strive for higher. The only reason, cause I was doing bad in high school, but when my father passed, and I knew that was one of his wishes, that was my motivation to finish high school for him. You know what I mean? Because I was a class clown, and I was dealing with low self-esteem. I was dealing with a whole bunch of stuff because I didn't know who I was. I didn't have no identity. So you do everything to try to fit in. So as far as like the educational piece, I just don't think there is it's not enough. It's not being pushed hard. At least in the hood, quote unquote, it's not being pushed hard enough. The only way we make it out in the hood is what, sports.
Yeah, and it's stereotype.
And that follows the stereotype. Sports.
We're only good for.
Yeah, sports and it was something else that slipped my mind, but sports is one of the main things that gets you out, because that's what we push. We push sports, athleticism. We don't push education or academics. We do push sports. So it has to be a shift in what we push and what we put our focus on. You know what I mean? The focus has to go back to the academic part of it, and not just just the sports. So it's good. If you athletically blessed and gifted, that's what's up. I'm not saying none of that, but you can only play sports for a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? You want to jump in?
Well, I'm not going to downplay that. That black men aren't going to school because there is a rise in education within millennials.
In millennials, but I'm talking about the generation before.
Now we have a different demographic. We're speaking about a different demographic.
Yeah, exactly.
But like you said, I did have that push from my grandmother, but she wanted me to become an overnight success story. She kept pushing me to be a lawyer. I'm like, still to this day, the highest amount of, no one on my maternal side of the family has a bachelor's degree. It's between myself and one of my female cousins that will become the first to actually obtain a bachelor's degree. Not to say that there isn't any success in the family. There is success, but they did that as, the workforce 30 years ago allowed you to grow within the company. And that's what happened for a lot of my family, older family members, the pioneers of the family, just grew within the company or went into the army and so on and so forth. But, nobody really went the full educational amount to actually grab a degree. And like I said, that pressure of, I literally fought with my grandmother until her death, you need to go pursue law, and really unsatisfied with the fact that she was happy I was in school, but still dissatisfied that I wasn't pursuing law. We really fought tooth and nail until she understood, listen, that's not what I want to do. And really kept pushing that from my adolescent years even into manhood. You need to become a lawyer, you would do well for this, that, and other. It was just like that pressure to, accomplish success for the sake of the family and what, your parents want. It's it's a lot of pressure for a child. And to constantly push it, that causes a lot of stress. And, I think that's one of the biggest things that black men, everybody deals with stress. But, when you're in the corner, when the world has you in the corner, and you have so many different things pointed at you, it's like, how do you deal? And people wonder why, so many things happen in low income neighborhoods, because these people are socially, economically challenged.
I'm glad that you brought up stress because that would be my next question.
You're welcome.
Would be, I wanted to know, because I know as a woman, we face challenges, we get stressed out with managing the home, careers, children, yada, yada, yada. So as far as the men is concerned, I wanted to know, how do you handle your pressures? How do you handle your stress? What, if you're not exactly successful in it yet, what are things that you will hope to change as far as the factors that you face that may cause you to feel defeated or overwhelmed, or just what have you learned from, I guess, from adolescence to now with your stress as far as holding the world, you know? Because we look at men as strong. You're not supposed to have emotions or feelings. You're just supposed to be strong. But then when y'all snap or, you know, do something, everybody wants to then label you. We're stressed. So I want to know, how do you deal with that? How do you, because y'all haven't snapped. So how do you manage your stress with dealing with everything that you have to deal with?
Well, I mean, now today, you know, prayer. Today it would be the being a man, or all right, I'm not put my title. Being a minister, you know, you learn how to pray. That's one of the biggest things that helps me with stress. You know, is just praying, talking to the Father, and knowing that I have, you know, and if you know, if the when the stress gets too crazy, you're praying and then having a proper outlet to vent and release, which is something that I hadn't had for a while. Even with prayer, sometimes you still need that person to release to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you know, God got you, and God, you know, alleviate some of the pressure, but sometimes you just need that human contact to actually be able to be like, look, this is what I'm dealing with, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you know, shut up, just let me talk, let me get it all the way out, and then be cool. But as a younger man, you know, I didn't have a way to release stress. You know, I mean, I played sports with my friends and all that, but it was like at that alone time, you know, with people not being there for you, it's like you really don't have a way. So you look for things to cope, whether it be sex, whether it be drugs, whether it be you know, alcohol, whether it be, you know, just any other thing that can get your mind off of it. But in reality, you know, it's not, you're not really dealing with it. You know, it's just, you know, you just using stuff to cover it up.
Right.
So, like I said, prayer today, and having people that I can trust and talk to, that is what helps me with the stress that I deal with of being, you know, a provider. And I want to attack this too. Men do have feelings. Men do have emotions, even though, you know, we were always taught not to show them because that's a sign of weakness. Let's kill that right now. It's not a sign of weakness. That's actually a sign of strength. You know, some of the things we were taught as men, or some of the things that we have saw, because like I said, y'all know my story is I didn't have nobody teaching me anything. So I was just a dynamite stick ready to explode. You know, because I had so much pent up and no way to properly release it. So to the men that's out there, you know, if you're dealing with stress, you know, talk to God, and if you know, talking to God, you know, it isn't enough for you, then talk to that person. Find you a dude, a bro that you can release to, because you know, we got to be accountable to each other. Because it is when we snap on the wrong people, and then the stigma we get hit with the stigma, or we get hit with the, you know, well, see, that's what they do anyway. So I mean, that's my.
You mentioned that you haven't had an outlet in a while. Why is that?
How was that?
No, I'm talking.
How is that?
I'm not talking about right now. I'm talking about then. I'm talking about back then, before all this.
So you
I have outlets now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not talking about.
Check. Like, I need you to go to your outlet.
Wow.
Just kidding.
Ready to track me already. I'm about to get tracked by my wife and by my brother. Like, what am I talking about right now? I'm talking about as a younger adolescent. You know.
Just fix your words, bro.
Sheesh, man. But no, I'm referring to me as a younger man. So, you know, me being a younger man, having all that stuff pent up, all it is, it just grows with you. As you grow up and start to get older, you still don't have that vow, so it's still pent up. So at the right moment of time, boom. And then it's like, oh, well, you know, I knew he was like this, or I knew that, we get hit with all of the labels and all the stereotypes, but it's just a bunch of pent up pressure that I never got a chance to release. You know what I mean?
Since then, have you
Oh, yeah.
felt like you got?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my relationship with God is a lot tighter than it was then. And then, relationships with, my bro here, and I got a couple other brothers that I didn't talk to. I'm good now, but, let me emphasize, I'm talking about when I was younger, not today. Y'all won't have me up on the altar tomorrow. I'm talking about you stressing, and I see the Lord saying, be stress free. You're a prophet line. That's what you're doing. But anyway, go ahead, bro.
I can echo those same things. Okay. Having, but I also like to add to, prayer. My grandmother, at a young age, it's funny how, in the environment that I grew up in, a woman had to teach me first, along with some positive male figures that came along. But primarily, I have to reach back to my grandparents, my grandmother, my grandfather on my fraternal side of the family. And also, but, not only just prayer, but you definitely have to have the prayer. Like, that has to be your foundation. And, having that outlet, but that outlet has to be somebody of a higher caliber than your own wisdom and your own intellect. Because, you speaking to somebody at your own level, where is that going to really go?
Right.
And, you have to find that person that, can really, cajole you in the way from keeping you from doing something that may be deleterious to your own health, and be able to really get to your core in a way that will direct you in the right path.
Right.
And as he was mentioning his grandma, I would be remiss if I did not mention my grandmother. My grandmother is the one who instilled Christ in me since I was a kid. I mean, shout out to the General, and she know who she is. That's what we call my grandma. The General, she had me on the altar. I'm talking about choir, direct choir director, altar. I mean, like, Bible studies at night. So that's where I got my biblical foundation. I mean, I had it since I was little, but it's only so much that she can do. She cannot teach me how to be a man, because she's not a man. Now, not that she can instill good values and morals in me, yes. But in order to become a man, you need a man to show you how to be a man. And that's what I was lacking in my life, and I'm quite sure my brother can agree with me.
Right, because I forgot to mention, my father only had an 8th grade education, and he was murdered at the age of, I think 19, 20. So, I was fatherless at the age of 4, and, he was in the streets, and, that's typically what was happening in the 90s and still even now, being in the streets looking to find resources by way of trapping, as we say, and it's an empty life. It may provide fast revenue, but in the terms, like, you're putting yourself in danger of creating generational rifts, of not being able to be, that's a father out of the home, that's not instilling something into the next generation. Whether the seed is male or female, and that's why we continue to have these problems in the homes, because there's not a whole family household.
Right.
And then the child has to seek to find, another, male representative that can lead and guide them, and sometimes feel left to the side because you can't always go to Uncle Mike or Uncle Tone, because they have their own families. And you have to get fitted in when you can get in.
Wow.
And, just having that father in the home that's your actual father you have access to at all times, versus, like I said, being fitted into everybody else's schedule. which I think leads to other problems of
Rejection.
basically rejection.
Wow, that's awesome. You keep leading me right into my next question. So, fatherhood. So let's talk about that. I didn't even know about your father, and I knew about yours. So I really would like to know, coming from a broken home or a family without a father figure, without a father, how has it been? I knew the struggles you might have had growing up, but now that you guys are fathers of your own, how does that, or how has it affect you? And then what have you done to change the stigma with that?
All right, so being fatherless, like I said, that comes with its own. It comes with a lot. Like I said, I can go back to saying like not having a standard to look up to. My father was also in the streets. He was a drug addict. But I can say, and I will credit to him, he was getting his life together. You know what I mean? And he was starting to come. This was around my junior season. I was a junior in high school. But he was out in the streets. Like I'll just preface it like this. In my when I was an adolescent, he was there. We would go to. I remember it like it was yesterday. We would go to the arcades every Sunday after church, and then we would had that time together. That was our time. And then as I got older into my I would say shaping and molding years, that's when he disappeared. That's when I think he got caught up in the life of drugs and doing what he was doing. And then, he started to come back when I was around 16, 17. He started to come back because he was getting his life together. He had gotten involved in church. You know what I mean? He was really starting to take hold and shape, and God was really starting to change his life, and then it got taken from him. So that was a hard hit, and I didn't realize how mad I was at God first for taking him from me. And then I didn't realize how much of a hole that left in me, because it was just that hole that he was supposed to fill. You know what I mean? And that guidance and leadership that I needed was gone. So once again, as my brother said, you go searching. You go searching. So what happened with me is I found mine through sex. That's how I got my fulfillment, so to speak. So that took place into my young adult years, and then I, kind of got myself back together and, got back in church, blah, blah, blah. Leading up to now, how it has impacted me, like I said, I didn't have that standard, so I didn't know nothing about being a father. I had men try to show me, but it was like, whatever, you got a hidden agenda, no. And then I was very naive and dumb, so anything that they told me, it was gospel. So,
Right.
So I learned a lot of crap, and then I had to kind of just wash it all away. And then, when God sent me you, well, when I found you, I should say that. Let me get that right. When I found you, it was, I had an idea of what fatherhood was, but it really hit me when we got married, and then, when I actually had to be there. And, and I actually had to deal with, different little personalities and learning how to differentiate who is who, and okay, this one got certain quirks, and this one got certain quirks, and this one is this one is that, and this was 4. Like I got hit with 4 right out the door. 4. So it's not like you can just learn 1. I had to learn 4 all at one time. So it was definitely challenging because it required me to grow up a lot faster because I was young. We were very young when we got married. I was 24. So
And I was 21. Just kidding.
I'm gonna let you have it. I'm gonna let you have
Just
it.
kidding.
Let you have it. So we were young when we got married. I was 24, and it forced me to grow up and mature very quickly. Like, because at 24, this dude's in this different stratosphere right here. He's like the most mature 20s. You still in your early 20s, right?
27.
Oh my God.
27.
My bad, bro. But still, he'll have his time. But yeah, so it forced me to grow up very, very quick. It forced me it stretched me and it bended me, and it was like, wow, I had to grow up fast, and I had to learn so much stuff on the fly. So not having that standard, it did impact me, but you know, I had enough sense to be like, you know what, I'm married now. I gotta stop doing this your young dumb stuff and kind of mature. I had to learn how to cook because I didn't know how to cook. I had to learn how to. I always knew how to clean because I was one of those Saturday morning cleaners, old school. You just in there doing your thing and you clean the house. So the cleaning part was cool. I could clean the house, but actually having to learn how to cook, actually having to sit down and do homework with kids, and actually having to spend time and like, you know, put your arms around them and be like, you know, chill and playing the game with them and doing different things. So it was a lot to take on, but you know, we made it, so to speak. You know, I'm very proud of all my kids, who my kids have become today. They're still pains in the butt, but you know, the main thing I learned was consistency, being there, not being absent. And I can say, you know, 14 years in, you know, I've been there. They have not left me. You know what? This impacted me so much. When I heard my oldest son, I forget how long ago it was. It had to be at least at least maybe between 8 and 10 years ago. And my son, our oldest son, he would come into our room every night. Every night he would just bust in the room.
Like,
don't matter what we was doing. He would just bust in the room. And I asked him, I forget how the conversation happened, but I asked him, I said, yo man, why do you keep doing that? Like, he was like, because I just wanted to see if you was still gonna be there. And that shook me to my core.
Wow.
So that showed me that he was looking for consistency. And he saw that, you know, like I said, you have a past, we all have past. He wanted to see if that man that whoever mommy was chilling with was still gonna be there the next day. And the next day. And the next day. And the next day. So that shook me to my core. That let me know, like, all right, I gotta be here. Like, I cannot not leave. Like, through all the good and the bad, consistency. Being present is one of the greatest things I've learned about fatherhood. Being present has so much impact. We will never know. Fathers, I'm telling you, being present has a lot of impact. Dads, being present has a lot of impact. Far more than your money, far more than you just, you know, showing up and then leaving. Like, they want to see you. Your kids need to see you every day. And then I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna pass it off to my guy. Just recently, I was talking to my supervisor because I was requesting a lot of days off and you know, leaving work early because our kids had activities, and I made it my point to be there. And he was like, you know, you got he said, you got you know, a responsibility to your job too. And I said, yes, I do, because this was via text. I said, yes, I do. I said, but I can get another job. And I told him just like that. I said, I can get another job. I said, but another family, you just can't stumble up on another family. You can make one, but you know, we can always spread seed and make families, but to be there consistently for your family was something that I had to take priority over. And I told him, I said, I can get another job. I can always get another job. I said, but another family I can't get. I said, what happens when your role gets diminished because you weren't there? Because you were working. And I said, I know we're supposed to provide, and I know we're supposed to, you know, make a living for our family. We're supposed to bring the money in and do what we're supposed to do as men. But money ain't everything. Providing is a great part of our responsibility as fathers. It is. It's a great part, but it's not the only part.
Right.
Being present takes precedence over you providing, because I think something that you said that my youngest daughter said. You know, she said, I feel like Daddy loves us now because he's there. Yeah. And that's something else that hit me in my heart. Like, wait, what? I'm always here. No, I'm not always here. I'm always at work.
Always at work. So,
like I said, being consistent in your presence is major. So I'm ready to close. This is my first closing. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, so, you know, the conversation, it ended as, you know, I want to be there for my family. I can get another job, but I need to be there for my family, especially with the things that have happened. You know what I mean? My youngest daughter is older. She's in the ball. She wants to see her dad at some ball games. So I got to make it my priority to be at some ball games. I can't be at them all, but I need to be at some of them. I got my 2 nieces that, you know, that's another situation where they need to see a consistent male presence. So I'm making it my business to be at some of their most most of their events. Well, some of them can't be at most of them.
Mm-hmm.
But next week is my niece is graduating from the 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta be there.
Right.
I need to be there. That's an important milestone in her life, and she needs her support system there. My youngest niece, you know, she clings to me because she never had a male presence in her life,
Right.
or at least not a good one.
Right.
So she clings to me. So I make sure I'm there. Sometimes it gets on my nerves because I'm used to having my space. But
Right.
I'm gonna make sure making my business to be there.
Right.
So for her, but you know, and what my supervisor said, he said he would never, you know, challenge that, and he understands that.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I think it was something. I think I might have hit him with something.
Right.
Because you know, when your role gets diminished, you know, because you're not there, that's a hurtful thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Especially like, you know, when your kids don't see you, like they go to mom for everything. I mean, most kids go to mom for everything anyway. But like when they don't come to you for nothing at all, not to talk, not to do nothing, that's a major impact. Right there. It's like they can't trust you because they don't see you. They don't know you're there.
Right.
All right, I'm done because I can keep going. I know. I know.
Y'all ain't have to have me come. He doing good, bud.
But you know what? You can talk about being, because I was a young father, but you're where I was a few years back. But you can talk to the fact of being a younger dad. You know what I mean?
Well, for me, as oxymoronic as it may sound, as I alluded to earlier, my father was murdered when I was 4. But
that's crazy. I was murdered too. That's wild.
you know, he positively, I can use the accounts of my real small time with him as both negative and positive reinforcement. Positively enforce the, like you said, the consistency, but also the embrace, you know, from a father to a son. Because I believe that lack of embrace from a male to a male is why most men are concealed within their emotions, because they never had a man just kiss them on their forehead as a young child, or to give them a hug, or you know, so on and so forth. And I had busted my head open like right before he died. I was running around the living room with something in the glass table and busted my head open. And he had just got out of jail, and he came to see me. I still, at 23 years later, I still remember that.
Wow.
You know, that kiss he gave me and the hug that he gave me, and that'd be my last memory of him forever. And, you know, and that's what I make sure I do with my own son. I became a father at 20 years old. I was married. I got married at 20. My son was born some time later. So basically, husband and father all in one at 20, and 20 going on 21. And, you know, I just try to keep that consistent with my 6-year-old, and, you know, to give him that embrace. And, you know, to make sure that he knows that he has somebody that he can talk to. You know, and I try to talk to my son on an adult, on an adult basis instead of talking to him like a child, because you can't, I don't believe that you can Google Gaga a child forever. And, you know, I talk to him about real subjects, you know, and, you know, he asks us questions, and, you know, to have somebody be there to do those things. And, you know, like I said earlier, that was a positive enforcement that my father gave, but also on the negative side of him never being there, you know, that's what I wanted to make sure that I did for my son. And, you know, I'm always there, and I have that availability to be there. And I'm thankful for that, because that was what I never had. You know, he can come into the room at night and see I'm there, which I never had. And, you know, also for my grandfather, I'm thankful for my grandfather, because when his son died, he took me on and tried to be there as best as he could. You know, he came and got me almost every weekend. If it wasn't the whole month, it was at least a minimum of 3. And, you know, was there all the time, you know, and, you know, he instilled those family values and teaching me how to provide. You know, it wasn't always said, but by action, I was able to understand.
Right.
Even in that lesson.
That's awesome. So yeah. You guys are really like giving me lots of profound insights. I know myself, and I still do have, like, you know, you just grow up with certain things that you know of men, and then you sometimes in the midst of me spilling out, I know sometimes I may say something that's inaccurate to him, and I'll be like, oh, that was just so stereotypical of me to say what I just said because that's not him.
Right. And
So,
I want to stop you right there because I think that there's as many languages we have in the earth from every cultural background, well, ethnic background, excuse me. I believe that the language of a man is still misunderstood today.
Absolutely.
Like the language of a man, when we reach out, you know, even though we're speaking English, you know, we're still never really understood. You know, and with the way that we have to cope to things, you know, and the way that we have to hold things in, and you know, it's like we, you know, we're saying things, but we're really not getting understanding because, you know, even the other day, like, you know, I was talking to my wife, and you know, it's like, you know, you can't tell women everything because of the emotional creatures that you all are. So it's like, all right, well, I pretty much got to hang this in the wind until I get it situated, then come back. But if you tell prior to, it's another fire that a man now has to put out because of that emotional construct of a woman. And it's like, you know, here I am, I have to hold this in because I can't share this with my wife because this is going to make this situation worse before it actually comes better. So it's like I had to really get that situation diffused and then come back to her and relay her the details.
Okay, so here's my next question with that. I'm coming for you.
Well, before you,
no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So,
Because I want to say that we have reverse.
I wanted to say, you said you had to diffuse the situation because women are emotional creatures.
Right. Now, remember before you say that, we're reverse roles in our household.
Got you. So, reverse roles meaning, what is that? What did you
No
revert?
offense.
Because we have.
Yeah, I understand how your home operates. No offense, but you're more of the dominant one, but you also respect his dominance as a man, which I appreciate. You know, because you know you're behind the scenes, and you know he comes home and does what he has to do in his providing. But you know, behind the scenes, you're the one that's dealing with the scenarios, you know, and handling some things, and you know how you two handle them. But in my home, you know, I'm that person.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's why I said we are in reverse roles according to the gender norms, per se.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand now. Okay, so I just wanted to be sure. So, how long have you been married?
7 years, September.
7 years. Okay, it's not too bad. Do you think at some point, and this is probably more of a marriage question,
Relationships matter.
that it will be reversed?
Or eventually. I'm trying to get it to that point.
Okay.
But it's taking some time because it's like, you know, I've been trying to, you know, my godfather said to me, he said, man, you trying to do everything. He said, you trying to be both of y'all. He said, you can't do everything. You're going to burn yourself out. And in the meantime, you know, the other person can get used to those things and don't want to do anything now. And it's like, well, when you start backing up off of those roles and those things that you've done, it's like, wait, what are you doing? You stayed in this role for so long, now you're trying to opt out. Like, you know, we've been like this for long. What you deserve the peace for?
Right. Yeah, because change is hard.
And it's like, you know, we're trying to get there. I'm trying to, you know, diminish some of the roles that I was in.
Now, in the midst of the diminishing roles, are you communicating that? Are you transitioning along with communication to get to where you hope to get? It has to be. Is there like a team effort with the meshing of the roles?
There is a team effort. The transition isn't always. It's always communication. Communication is fine.
Okay.
But it's the acceptance of the communication, because that barrier of the man language to the rest of the world.
Gotcha.
That is not always understood.
It just cracks me when you said the man language. But I get it. I really did. I know in our marriage, and I think sometimes we still, I am the dominant one, but I had to be. I didn't have a father. It was my mom. My mom was the dominant one. So that's how we grew up. We grew up to do everything. So when I got married, our transition from me being dominant to now I gotta let the man role will lead, I should say. And I won't say so much lead. Sometimes I think we balance each other out, because he's not always right, I'm not always right. But when we come together and we lead, because we got a family, then I feel like we're getting it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, because the man's place in the home is so imperative to both gender children, because the man is teaching the male seed how to be a man, but he's teaching the female seed what to look for in a man.
Right. And
like you said, you had to come upon this dominant role because there wasn't no man there. One of my uncles, he always says, when he married my aunt, she became weak.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
No, you're taking it wrong. Because my aunt was dominant because there was no man in the house. They some people joke about the women in my family, because some of them are like 5'10", 6 foot. They call them Amazons. So they'll get up, carry the couch, that thing's hood. And my aunt slowly diminished that dominant role because there was now a dominant man in the picture. And I think that sometimes because of that man role has not been in its place, right? That the woman comes off overly aggressive as a result of not having the man there, because of that gender mixture of placement in terms of how to operate in life. And when that woman finally comes into a picture with a man, it's hard for that woman to diminish that aggressiveness. Sometimes it's never done. But it causes confusion in the home sometimes, because of that man, that father wasn't in his place for that woman. So when when Mr. Right comes along, he's not always treated right, because it's like, well, I had to operate this way before you got here, and I'm gonna continue to do this. And it's like, now on the other hand, my brother has to fight to get the woman to understand, well, listen, I'm here to do this. I'm not the man that was inconsistent in your life prior to me being here.
It's that. You hit it right there. I think a lot of the relationships or marriages encounter that issue of where sometimes us men, we get treated like all the other men that were before, because of the filter. You know what I mean? You're seeing them through that filter of inconsistency, not being there, not having a father. So I'm still gonna do what I need to do. And then, as we're trying to usher in and say, hey, look, let's be a team now. You don't have to do this by yourself. It's like, oh no, well, show me. And then it's like, if we do one thing wrong, it's like, nope, I got it. It's like,
because it's a major trust factor.
Yeah,
it's a major trust factor, and you have to earn her trust. Like, you can't, once a queen is placed in a king position, now you're asking for two kings to reign. It just doesn't happen that way. So how do you get the woman to back off and be okay? And it's simply by the matter of love and trust. She has to be able to trust you.
So you said the queen being placed into
she's being placed in a king position. I was in a king position for so long until I met him. And then...
See, that's the confusion.
No,
hear me out.
Okay.
Because let's take the British monarchy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Queen Elizabeth is still Queen Elizabeth. She's not
Right.
Queen Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, her role was understood that if a man isn't here, you have to step up and rule the country, not to become the king's position,
Right.
but to know that the responsibilities were shared, and not even at a time where the responsibilities would become inherent if the king steps off. You know, not to say that she'd be playing both roles, but this was her role to begin with at the, you know, as it was explained at the table prior to the process of everything. And that's where, you know, I understand the rhetoric of a woman have to play a male's position, but I believe sometimes it's like in Hollywood or in acting, you know, you really have to persuade yourself into the role. And I believe that some women being in the role so long become over dominant and don't even realize how far they traveled from the female premise. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but again, it's from the lack of.
Absolutely, I agree.
So how do we get her to I guess conform back down to where she's supposed to be?
Oh, now we get air quotes.
Yeah, where she's supposed to be.
As you said, it does take some trust.
Takes a
But
lot of trust.
You can't. To play devil's advocate, you know, because, you know, I understand why those things would be, but you can't wait for the man to fall at the same time while you're in that relationship.
What do you mean wait to fall?
You know, in terms of that trust barrier, because that trust, you know, like you said, it has to be built. But like you said, you know, it's like as soon as that first mess up comes, you know, it's almost as if the woman is predicting it. You know, you already anticipated it because of that role was
it's
so.
It's because of the lack of trust.
Exactly. But
she will no longer predict it, or she will be okay with the fall. Number one, as her relationship with God is increased, and her prayer life is increased, and she's realized, well, she has to realize that he's not out to get her, because this is the process that I had to go with him. You know, I did the finances, I cleaned the house, I cooked, I raised the kids, I even worked. I did all that, and I was educated. And then he came, and I was like, oh, I love him, but who is he? Is he going to raise my children right? Is he going to do this? Going to do that? And in the beginning, yes, he made a lot of mistakes to where I was like, okay, never mind, I'll do it myself. And even to this day, there's sometimes I'll say I do it myself simply because I do it better. And I'm like the type of person to keep me from nagging, to keep me from fussing. I'll just do it my way, and then you'll handle your area of your strength. Like just some things you just be like, it is what it is. But as far as the dominant role, I think a lot of it plays simply. Do I believe that the right man can come and penetrate her heart, and then she'll break down the walls? Absolutely. I believe that with all my heart. If he's the right man. If he's not the right one, he's not God sent. If he's not the one that's willing to put up with her mess, because we're messy, then I don't think he's the one entitled to that position. I just think we have to be careful when we enter in relationships and make sure it's God ordained rather than just a relationship. I just truly believe that. But that's just how I feel. But as far as women, my sisters, I say it all the time, even, you know, we gotta learn to trust. We gotta learn to heal. And that's all part of the trust factors. We gotta heal from these past things. And it's really sad because the stigma that the men have, you know what I mean? And it's hard to work through that stigma to where, you know, so the point of I want to stress the point of the women is that we got to do our part. We really absolutely have to do our part, because I don't want the men to be miserable because we're miserable. You see what I'm saying? Like, we got to have that teamwork, but in the same token, if he's a good guy, we got to work on ourselves. And I think that's a lot of people's problem. We're so busy trying to work on the other person that we're not working on ourselves.
That's good.
You know, the work starts with us. So that's how I had to be able to deal with you. I had to work with my own insecurities, my own, well, why am I dominant? Okay, this is why. Let me deal with these issues. But in the meantime, I'm going to have my oops, never mind, I've got it myself. Or let's put you over here, you know, until, you know, I can like get him to do. But I think, do I always think a woman would get in the way of that? I still think we will. I still think we will. Because it's just, we have a tendency, especially in the home, we have certain things that just run smooth. It just runs smooth. And it just runs smooth. And they come in and they're just like, no. I had the castle running smoothly. You got to stay in line so it can stay smooth. Like they don't get it. But, you know, that's the thing I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to iterate that I think a lot of the dominance is because when we had to be, and then also how can we make that adjustment, you know, because it's not always us. It's us, but it ain't always us. So, yeah, that was awkward. So we talked about the kids, fathers, bottom line, I wanted to ask, what has fatherhood taught y'all so far? You're more almost completed. Now, I wouldn't say complete, but, you know, they're migrating out the house.
Yeah.
What has fatherhood taught y'all so far? And then moving forward, what are some of the things your goals are as far as being a father?
Well, what has it taught me? It's taught me more patience. I thought I was a patient man. I really did. But then when you started dealing with kids, and then dealing with having a wife, like you learn a whole nother level of patience.
Yes.
You learn a whole nother level of patience, because there's certain things that we do as men is like, just as a certain way that women do things in the house, we have things that we do in the house that run smoothly when we do it. So it goes both ways. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say, your way is your way, my way is mine. It goes both ways. Right. It does. It really does go both ways. But I learned a lot of patience dealing with kids, especially with teenagers. Like those teenage years when, they start off pretty good and then they start to get rebellious, you know what I mean? Because they're hanging around the wrong crowds. They're hanging around different people that's having different influences on them, and they bring those different influences back home. So you got to battle with that, because now they're doing stuff that they normally wouldn't do. Mm-hmm. And now they're introducing new behaviors to you, and you like, yo, what's the deal with you? Like, why are you doing this? Like, yo, stop this, that, and the third. So then you got to get more into your disciplinary role, and then you buck heads, because I had two boys that I bucked heads with a lot. I bucked heads with them a lot, and I made a lot of mistakes dealing with them two boys. I love them dearly, they know it. But I learned a lot of patience, and I learned how to not fly off of the handle, because I used to just fly off of the handle just because of that pent up aggression that I didn't release. Mm-hmm. So, one thing happened and snap, I'm ready to go, boom, and then something happens. So I've learned how to not react so fast, how to just kind of sit back and just be like, okay, let me assess the situation better. Right. Before I say something or before I react the wrong way. I learned how to communicate a little better. I'm still not all the way there yet, but I've learned how to communicate better, because I realized when teenagers get older, you don't have to really beat them as much, but you really do need to talk. Right. Because they want to talk more, they want to talk things out. They want you to hear their perspective and where they're coming from, because they're dealing with some of the same pressures that we dealt with as kids, but differently. You know what I mean? Because this new era here, these kids today, they dealing with some whole other stuff. Like, I mean, it's some of the, like I said, it's some of the same pressures that we dealt with in our adolescence and young adult years, but it's like ramped up to like 1,000, maybe even 1,000,000. So learning how to really just communicate and talk to them on their level. I think that's one of the things that my sons respect, that I can talk to them on their level because I've been there and I've told them countless times, like, not too many things you've done I haven't. You know what I mean? At times the generation or the times may have been a little bit differently, and may have been different. Excuse me. May have been different, but it's all still in the same because, like I said, I was a young man, so it's not too many things that you deal with as a young man that I haven't dealt with. So learning how to communicate better with my two boys, even with my girls, dealing with teenage girls is a whole nother level. Like I think I got a lot of gray hairs just dealing with my oldest daughter. Like I love her and I love her, but she is somebody to be reckoned with. I'll say that. So world, watch out for her.
God help her husband.
Yeah, God help him. Lord have mercy. But dealing with her and then dealing with my youngest, and now having my two nieces, it's taught me a lot of patience, and I really believe like I got it. I was telling we had this conversation the other night. I really believe that we got a chance to really do it over with our two nieces coming in. We got to do over. You know what I mean? Because I can confidently say we made a lot of mistakes with our first couple of teenagers that are out the house, and like I said, everything is good now, but we did make a lot of mistakes, and I know I made a lot of mistakes as a father, and I believe with my two nieces we have a do-over. You know what I mean? Because it's like a reset button. At first it's a major adjustment, but because you're used to dealing with teenagers and now you're dealing with kids again, so it's a major adjustment. But patience, understanding, communication. And some of the things that I look forward to as a father, as I look forward to seeing my kids grow up even more. I'm looking forward to some grandbabies. When the time comes, I'm not rushing it. I'm looking forward to spending time with them more as adults. Like when they really, like my son, he comes over a lot. My oldest son, he comes through a lot, and we talk. And I enjoy the talks. We laugh, we joke, we play. But when he really wants to talk, we sit down in the cave and we talk like men. And I enjoy that because now I get to see, where he's at, in his young adulthood. And a lot of the things that I've tried to tell him, he'll always come back and say, Dad, you was right. And I'll be like, I've been trying to tell you that for years. But, now he knows, you know what I mean? So it's always good to, have that conversation and see where he's at. So I look forward to, like I said, I look forward to the grandbabies. I look forward to seeing them mature as adults. I look forward to them seeing them advance in their careers and really just to see what they become and do with their lives. So that's what I look forward to as a father.
So for myself, Father has taught me to continue to recount your childhood and your emphasis of being a father. Because we often forget that we once were children.
Exactly.
And also, to reiterate the patience piece. Patience is definitely key because, our children go through different stages of life. It almost reminds me of the Sour Patch commercial, first sweet.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And, while he's sweet, I'm taking advantage of that, before the real trials come as a teenager.
Sour ages.
Right. And the only thing I look forward to is, just for him to heighten the success, of the family. My ideals is for him to, overset me, to do better than I've done, in overall everything. It's pretty much all I look for. It's just the success factor being built upon with, father figure being in the home. You have to do better.
Right.
We can't plateau from this point. We have to heighten upon the success that was built from myself to you and you to yours. And that's pretty much it for me.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're bringing on to our last half hour. I gotta do my plugins. So if you have any comments, questions, concerns, you can call in to our line at 484-272-5650, or you could just leave comments or tell us our thoughts on the live chat. Also, if you would like to purchase our t-shirts, they're coming all sizes, all colors, 2 different styles. This is the one style that we're actually matching today. It's Relationship Matters Ministries. There's Life After Hurt. And then our other shirt is the Relationship Matters Ministries. You're not meant to live life alone. They're $20. Help support a great ministry. We're actually about to branch out into the community and do some community service. So I'm very excited with how the ministry is going. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, linked. We're all over the place, as well as staying connected on our website at relationshipmattersministries.com. So purchase the book. It's $10.99. Read the book, and hopefully the book will bless you as it has done so many other people. Also, I wanted to note we will be breaking from our forms for the summer. I'm actually excited. It's some rest that's needed, as well as I get to spend time with my husband and my kids. So we will be taking the next 2 months to vacation. So it's greatly needed. So we will definitely be returning back with September. So stay connected to the website as well as to social media sites to see our next upcoming forum and things that we may be doing throughout the summer. So thank you guys for tuning in. So we're going to finish out our last half hour. My major question I wanted to ask would be, I wanted to know, as men, how in the world do y'all balance? Because I know sometimes it's tough. I wanted to know how you balance your work, your ministry, because both of you guys are leaders, as well as your families. How has that impacted you? How have you learned to prioritize things? Is there any way you wanted to get better in certain things? But I know it's rough, because I know a lot of times you just grab your plate from the microwave, eat, and go to sleep. So I wanted to know how was that for you guys? How do y'all do it?
It was rough. Now, being older now, I've got more of a not to say a hook on it, but I've gotten a lot better because I've always been involved in ministry heavily.
Yeah.
You know, since before we got married. You know, since before I married my wife, I've always been involved in ministry heavily. I've been deacons. I'm a minister now. I've been deacons, and I've always been in the forefront of ministry, whether it was being a musician, directing the choir. Like, I've always been in the forefront. So, you know, leading youth ministries and all types of stuff. So I've been in the forefront a lot. So a lot of the time, you know, it was always church. I mean, I went to work, I did all that, you know, but it was church. That's all I knew. That's all I lived. And there's a few people that can attest to that, you know, besides my wife. So it was very hard when I first got married to balance it all out, because I was so used to just being in church all the time, which I found out is not the greatest thing in the world. You know what I mean? I love God, but God don't even want us in church that much. So it was very hard to balance it out when I first got married, because like I said, I was just used to being in church, just doing the work, not even really having a relationship, just doing the work. There's a difference. I want to let you know now, there is a difference between just doing the work and actually being involved, or having a relationship with God. So when we first got married, like I said, every opportunity to be at church, I was there. It didn't matter what they were doing. It didn't matter what my wife and kids was doing. I was going to church.
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
I was going to church. It didn't matter if I had to get on the bus by myself. Whatever. All right, I see y'all when I get back. Y'all ain't ready? I'm gone. So as you can imagine, being married, that caused a lot of friction. But like I said, me being young, I ain't care about that. I mean, that's because I hadn't known yet. I didn't know what marriage fully meant yet. I was just young, happy to be married, but I was happy to go to church and do my work, because that's where my worth was at. That's where my identity was at the time. That's where I knew that that's me. I'm gonna do that. So it didn't matter what happened, I was at church. So as we begin to get older in our marriage, you know, I was still that way, but it started to really cause friction now, like to the point where we were arguing. you were complaining and fussing, and you were tired and worn out because you had to get the kids together. Because I was just about me.
Mm-hmm.
I was just about me. Sunday mornings, I was up, dressed, ready to go, and if you wasn't ready, all right, see you later, bye.
And it was literally like that.
Yeah,
Not joking.
it was like that.
Literally was like that.
I'm gonna tell you,
which made me feel like something was wrong with me. Like,
right?
Well, dang.
Yeah. So, you know, not fully embracing, you know, the role of a husband and a father. You know, I still had a certain amount of selfishness with me. It was just about me. Mm-hmm. So, as I got older, you know, my priorities started to change because I noticed it was weighing too much on my wife to have to get all the kids ready, to get herself ready. You know, and then the kids were younger then, so it was like, you know, you actually got to supervise what they put on and making sure it's clean and all of that stuff. So as we got older, I started to kind of shift my priorities, like, okay, and after, you know, talk to my wife about it millions and millions of times, because as men, sometimes it don't click right away. I'm gonna just tell the truth, and if y'all hate on me, y'all hate on me. But sometimes as men, sometimes as men, it just don't click right away. Mm-hmm. It don't click. It took years for me to actually get this right. Like, it took years. So I'm actually to the point now where I kind of just backed off of ministry a little bit because I realized my family is more important, and most importantly, how can you? The Bible says, well, how can you take care of God's house and you're not taking care of your own home? So that becoming older and still being involved in ministry, I kind of took a backseat because I said, I have to focus on my family more because, you know, my aspirations in ministry start at home. I have to be more consistent with how I treat my wife and how I treat my kids and making sure that home is good before I even go out. So I've taken a back seat to, you know, doing a whole lot of ministry, being at 2 and 3 services on a Sunday, going to Bible study during the week, all that stuff. I had to take a back seat because I had to realize that my family is important and that they need me. So I've really recently learned how to really just balance that out a little bit. So now, instead of being at 2 and 3 services, I may do 1 service. And just come home and just spend the rest of the time with my wife or with the kids, throw something on the grill, chill back, chill in the cave, watch movies, have family movie nights. All that stuff plays an important role, and it places a balance, and it lets the family know that, hey, you guys are important to me too. It's just not being in church and doing the work. You guys are balanced too. Like work is always work. I go to work. Like, that's no question. Like, work has never been an issue. In the beginning of our marriage, it was an issue. You know what I mean? Because I was young and, you know, not being responsible and doing dumb stuff, getting fired for dumb stuff. So, you know, my work life has never really been too much of an issue. Like I said before, though, like in a previous segment, like whereas though I told my supervisor, I'm gonna be requesting days off because I need to be with my family because they're getting older and they need to, you know what I mean? These are the most important and formulating years of their lives. I need to be there to have a say so. You know what I mean? To have input. You know what I mean? So, I really feel like, and I believe that you can attest to this, that the balance has really started to come together now. Like, whereas though you're not requesting me to stay home, or you're not looking at me cockeyed when I say, oh, I'm going to the 3rd service. Oh, you are? Well, what about?
Yeah.
So, you know, the balance is really starting to take place for me now. And like I said, we're 14 years in now, and I'm really just, maybe about the last year, I'm just starting to get it. So, like I said, for 13 years, it was whatever, but now it's like, all right, I started to get it now, so I believe now that I balanced it a little bit better, that the shift is taking place, and now I'm starting to see results. I get a better response from my wife, I get a better response from my children now, because I've taken that sacrifice and
he gets better intimacy too.
Try to keep it PG. But when you got guys like Mr. Jackson here.
Oh, and done.
Yeah, just shut the camera off. Nah, but seriously, you know, better responses. You know, like I said, better response from my wife, better response from my kids. You know, because I'm there and I'm showing them that they are priority. So that's how it's happened for me. And now I'm gonna let Mr. Bang Bang here go ahead and take his spill.
She said it. Firstly, I would just like to say that doing anything out of obligation is dangerous.
Yes. Yes.
When you operate as a robot, we're not meant to be robotic. If you look at artificial intelligence, the thing that anything artificially intelligently made, it lacks emotion.
Mm-hmm.
We are emotional beings, and a robot can't do that. And when you operate without your emotions, without your own thought, and you just get into the assembly line, bad things are going to happen. And I had to make that decision for myself that I'm not going to serve God out of obligation anymore.
Yes.
To not only because that obligation really turns into just serving a man and making the pastor happy.
Yes.
Right.
And at the end of the day, whomever the pastor is, he's going to take care of his family.
Mm-hmm.
And his family is taken care of,
Mm-hmm.
while your family is in shambles. But you have to make sure that you have a balance. I'm not saying these things to distort anybody's ministry or to come at the pastor position, but the church is an assembly line. Whether you're there or not, it's going to go on.
Keep going.
It took me some time to realize that until my grandmother passed. She was in that thing all day, every day. And when she passed, somebody else is sitting in her seat in the pew. Straight up.
Wow.
Somebody else is sitting in her seat in the pew. And the church is still going on.
Mm-hmm.
So the church does need us, but it doesn't necessarily need you
Right.
at all times.
That's good.
We have to have our face in a place, but we have to find a balance.
Right.
Because as in Genesis, you clearly see that God did creation in 6 days, and He took a seventh day to rest. And it's like, mental health is very imperative to anything that you're doing. And if you're doing these things out of obligation, you're mentally, physically, and emotionally impaired because you're not operating at all cycles and all cylinders. Because you're going here out of obligation. Oh, here I go again. You don't really want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't really want to do something, you're operating out of obligation. You're not giving 100%.
Right.
You're operating at just enough to get it done.
Right.
And just enough to get it done. The church doesn't deserve that. You don't deserve it, and neither does God.
Right.
Because we have to give 100% in everything, and you really, really have to find that balance. If you look in the New Testament, Jesus took vacations.
Mm-hmm. He did.
He told them he told them, listen, he got himself away from the crowd. He would go down to go visit Lazarus, Mary and Martha.
Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere you'll find in the Bible that the disciples was at Mary and Martha's house with Jesus. That was Jesus' getaway, to go to Mary and Martha's house.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to find that same balance, in Jesus' example, that we don't become a burnout.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be a burnt out tire with no tread.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you operate, you're going to slide off the road, and the enemy is waiting for you in the midst. And you have to. I can't say it enough. I know I'm sound like a broken record, but you have to find that middle ground. You have to find that balance to take care of your own business, so you can be better use to the church.
Mm-hmm.
Invest in your education. Invest in your business, and all these things can come back to the church and be a instrument for the church growth.
Yes.
This relationship marriage group is an instrument to United Church of the Firstborn. Because this is, still pouring into that ministry and opening up and operating under the umbrella of United. And, so take time to invest in yourself. Take time to, follow your dreams, follow your aspirations, and go forth. Because those things can still be utilized for the church, because you're still a playing as an ambassador of God, of Christ, an ambassador of Christ. You may not be in the church, but you're still working on the outside as a representative of the church. But, please, reverence your leader, stay communicative, communicate your schedules. I'm in the last leg of my education. I should be done school in April 2020, and So I got about 2 semesters and a half left, and I communicate with my leader, listen, this is what my schedule is, so, you know, you can expect me to be here this time, that time, and so on and so forth. Because at the end of the day, you know, wherever you're going, you're still going to carry the light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as long as your light is on, the light that, you know, goes into this dark world from Christ, you're still doing the job of the church. You know, we have to realize that the church is a headquarters, and, you know, we have to come into the headquarters to present, you know, whatever we need to do, and to come into communion or worship, to recharge, and so on and so forth, but it should not be the only place that we go to bear our light.
Right.
So, you know, for me, I was just like Stefan, you know, I was balancing the school schedule. I had to be to work at like 4 in the morning. So I'm getting up at 2:50. I'm on the bus by 3.
Oh, wow.
Off at noon, going to school, come back home for like an hour, and then try to get to church at 7:30. That's the way that my marriage went for like the first like 1 or 2 years. I'm like, listen, I can't do this no more.
It's too much.
And, you know, now, you know, like I said, I'm just taking the time to invest in myself so I can be a better user of the church, because the church needs our resources. You know, it needs our time. And, you know, you can't be resourceful if you're not adding any resources to yourself.
Right. Very good. All right, so I'm clicking on to my questions now. So, men, my last 20 minutes I'm going to dedicate. I want to ask y'all, let's talk about women.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Let's talk about women. Y'all married, but let's talk about women. What is it that you guys will hope to better in your, I guess, your own relationships with your woman, and as well as women in general? What is it that men, how do y'all perceive us? What is it that y'all would like for us to change to help you guys, for the community, for the church, for the, what can we do?
I ain't Steve Harvey. So I'm not going to go any farther with this.
So what is it that we could do to help aid you guys in being men? As just, you know what I mean? Because everybody needs a support system.
Learn that language.
Learn the language. Okay.
Learn the man's language.
Okay, so I don't even know the man's language. So,
Clearly, no.
okay, so what's the language? To help me out, what's the language?
You know, take some time to, you know, really understand your man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, without, the same way that we have a language that's hard to understand, y'all women have a tone that's unbearable. You know, I have to oftentimes, you know, remind the woman counterparts in my family, like, listen, you speak in that tone of voice that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's just like the teachers on the Peanuts game. Wah, wah, wah. And it's like, you know, you have to watch that tone, because that, you know, y'all have a cross parallel from your actual voice to the nagging voice. And it's like, as soon as that joint come on, oh, what'd you say?
Oh my God.
You know, and it's like, you know, you have to watch that parallel to turn into a nag.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that I really think that nagging is, you know, a very dangerous thing for a home.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't get anywhere. You know, because at the end of the day, you have someone that's ignoring your request because of your tone is not conducive to what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if the tone is reevaluated.
You mean the tone as far as how she says it?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
okay.
Exactly. You know, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the difference in how you say a thing is the difference in how it's received.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, that tone of voice is, whew, drive brother crazy.
Stefan, say no.
I mean,
I'm just messing. He ain't gonna follow that.
yeah, I ignored that part. I totally ignored that. I think aside from learning the language, learning that we are physical beings. How we connect with you is through touch, through feel. I know that how you
My
want.
wife watching?
If she is, she did. Look, that's between y'all. Just learn that's how we connect with you through touch and feel. Not that I'm making a request or anything like that.
No, but okay, so we stop you there.
Mm-hmm.
Because not all men are touched. Is that I don't think that's true, is it?
I think that's true. I definitely agree with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know.
I had to explain to my significant other, like, listen, she wants to go out all the time. That's her premise. You know, she wants to get dressed, she wants to go out, so on and so forth. That's fine, by women. But, you know, I like to touch.
Okay.
You know, we're physical, y'all emotional. You know, you want the ambiance and the scene of the restaurant to be serenaded, and those are the things that women sometimes look forward to. You know, going out, getting out of the house, sitting down at a restaurant. Just being out away from the kids, and it typically always sounds like women just always trying to get away.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it's like we're always
just want to touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's we both, not just one side, but we both have to find a middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
To appease each other in those ways.
Yeah. He so eloquently put it together. But I think even because I know I can only speak for my relationship. I know that you like intimacy. You like to sit up and talk, and that's fine. And the more that meet us there. Like if we're giving you what you want, give us what we want as well. So that's the balance.
Yeah, like.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if we're making an effort to sit there, and if we're making a conscious effort to be there for you emotionally when you need to talk or when you need to vent, or you just want to sit down and just rub shoulders in the bed, I'm just just saying like not rub shoulders, but you just
right.
like pillow talk, or you just want to sit there in silence and just be there, and and that's what you want, and that's fine. Okay, then like when we make our requests, just meet us there so that it doesn't feel like, okay, I'm putting in the effort for you, but you're not putting in the effort for me.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And we may not say that out loud, but in our head it's like, yo, like come on, like meet me there. Like I feel like it's a like I said, because I mean a lot of us don't voice it because of the reaction. Because of the reaction we know we're going to get, like, oh, all you concerned about is this. No, that's not all I'm concerned about.
Well, okay, so if you're concerned about the reaction, I think sometimes the reaction is from misunderstanding.
Exactly. I was about to say the same exact thing. Yes, it does.
Because you say touch, but I knew you mean touch rather than sex. Am I right?
Well,
no.
It's more.
Okay, see, but that's not what he said.
No, he's saying it's more than that.
So we, as a woman, we need y'all to say that.
It's not always received. When you say it in so many different
No,
ways, it's like you gotta get a banner, like.
I think I can only speak for the women that I know personally, and I think a lot of the times with the women, y'all just are not direct. It's just not. You say touch. And I
was trying to keep it PG, that's why.
Oh.
I'm like, yeah.
But see, I'm thinking touch. You got to tell me.
You think this is doing something for me?
I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's doing a whole heck of a lot.
But I mean, there's other forms of touch, but.
Come on.
I'm serious. I'm so serious. Like.
This goes back to understanding the language.
Okay, really, it does, and it's knowing your partner. And
like for instance, my wife and I, we go through the same issue.
I think this is a generation, not a generation.
It's
I
not.
think this is
It's just gender.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to explain. Like my wife is outside of going out, she's a sleeper, and like she'll call me and come lay down with me. And I'm like, yo, I'm not tired. So in the meantime, she's snuggled in sleep, and I'm up. I'm like, what is this doing for me? Like, can we get a balance? You know, take care of me, then you go to sleep. Like, you know, I remember, out of our 8 years of being together, like, I had to learn to love to watch Law and Order. I could go through all 16 seasons. Oh yeah, that's a joint where she get raped and Stabler comes save the day. Where I know every episode now. And it's like, all right, look, I invested into your
endeavor
and desired time of spending intimacy, or however you want to place it. But it's like, come back on over this side now. Just to find that balance. It's like, yeah.
Okay. So that's what you're telling me. What, anything else?
Yeah.
Any shit done? What's in your head?
No, I mean.
Other than touch.
No, I mean, no, because I don't want the primal focus to always be about sex. I mean, even though that's that's how we connect with our women and wives.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we connect. It's through that the physical act of, whereas though, like I said, you are about to ride, the ambiance and all of that, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. Like, don't get it twisted. Most men are cool with that, but it's like, no, just meet me on the other side. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just don't, like I said, if I'm putting that effort in, if I'm keeping that same energy to keep, make you happy, give me that same energy back. That's all. That's basically what we asking for. Give me that same energy back.
Do you think timing is a factor in that too?
Like I said, I can only attest for me. I can't attest for what goes on in other marriages. I know because of my work schedule. I know things are difficult. Mm-hmm. I know that. And that's and I've grown very accustomed to that. Like I'm good. Because I've always most of my working life, I've always worked maybe that second shift, whereas though I'm going all day, and then I come home, it's later on in the evening, whereas though you've been up since the crack of dawn. So by the time I get home, it's your bedtime. Technically, it's your bedtime. Your body's like, okay, it's time to go to sleep. We got to be up. So I know that. So like I said, I can only speak for my marriage, what goes on in my relationship. I know that. I'm good with that. Do I like it all the time? No. I'm not gonna sit here and fraud. No, I don't, because it's like, I come home, I got visions of you in my head, and you know what I'm saying? I see stuff I want to do, and it's like, you sleep. It's like, all right, but like I said, this is 14 years in, so I know, you know what I mean? I know it's like, all right, I'm good. You know what I mean? Some nights it take prayer to bring me down. It take me to go outside and get some air, but
then some nights you're like, oh, surprise, she's up.
Yeah, and some nights it's right there, like, oh, you still up, but that's because I know you now. Like I know you, I know how your body works. So it's like, all right, she'll be asleep. I'm not worried about it. Other than that, that's pretty much it for me. I can't really think of anything else.
Anything else, Mr. Kyrie?
No, you took all the words out of my mouth.
All right, so y'all
Keep
just
Marvin Gaye.
that's so simple. Y'all are very simple.
That's our language. That's the language.
Oh
Simple.
my God.
Simple. That's our language right there. Our language is very simple, very plain, very direct. We don't.
I don't know the direct.
No, maybe not the direct all the time, but it's
not
simple.
direct because of like you said, the reaction is like, all right, how can I say this without her getting on my nerves?
Or how can I say it without her responding? Oh, this is the only thing you want. It's like because it seems like that. Right?
Yeah.
It seems like that, right? But that's what I'm saying, and that's
all we want.
Okay.
We don't need no roses, no perfume.
Y'all don't want time. Y'all don't want.
I do now.
We actually get time. Of course, work is a thing in every house, but naturally, time is fitted in somewhere. I hope. you know, but of course, you know, time is important too, but you know, y'all got y'all way, you know, we get fitted in.
Now, not to cut you off, I'm saying this in front of the whole world. I do miss the time, like the time we used to watch Chicago PD and all that. Like we used to have shows that I do miss that because that's something I look forward to because it was like, you know, it was pillow talk and then just like, you know, we get excited, we like this. So certain things I do miss, like, you know what I mean? Certain shows that we used to watch together. So like, you know, I wish you would come in the cave sometime with me and just chill back and watch a movie. Like certain things like that is like I want that, but you know I know stuff happens. But that's the things that I like. You know what I mean? I do like that. You know, whenever we can sit back on the deck together. But you know, I know that's a time thing. But it's summertime now, so things should get a little bit better. But yeah, so not to say that we don't want to spend time with you. That's not the case. Like I said, our situation is different from what his situation is.
Yeah, my wife called me like 5 times a day at work, so you know we always got time, man.
So that's how he spends his time on the phone.
Like he said, you know, like when sports are on, she bounces, and it's like, yo, you can stay in here.
Oh, that's an issue. I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, that's an issue. Yeah, so
like turn it up.
So like, you know, I don't watch a lot of TV. Most of my TV spent is either children's shows because of my son or you know sports, and it's like, yo. You can stay in here, like, you ain't gotta go in the room. I learned to love Law and Order,
right?
You know, watch Stabler leave and Munch and everybody else, like, so, yeah, you know, come on over here to, this, you know, the couch, watch some Sixers, Eagles, whatever the case is.
I will say this, when it's like, and if we're ready to talk, let us talk. Like if we're ready to, you know, have this deep conversation, because it's not a lot where we get to, you know, sit down and talk or debrief or really just want to just conversate with you. It's not a lot that we don't do that often. So if we want to talk, give us the attention. Like put the phones down.
But you have to say that.
Okay.
All
Right.
You have to communicate that.
If somebody's talking to you, why you on the phone?
Because sometimes they'll come in, like him, he'll come in and want to talk, and I'm in the middle of sending an email. Or I could be playing a game, or I could be reading a book.
So a game is more important than a husband?
No, he needs to communicate that. All I'm saying, if he got to talk, and then there's times I'll just be like, oh, he real. And I'll listen, but I think we fail to realize of just say it. Because don't I say it to you? Babe, I need to talk. And oh, okay. But I think sometimes in the busyness of life, we forget. So just say it. Communication is a very key component in all relationships. If you can't relay that, I can't assume, you know, or I'm going to assume and be like, well, you know, but yeah, has the phone? Yeah, but there's times if you want to talk, just say it. Say it, and I'm like, oh, got you.
So you're saying that you're always that easygoing?
Pretty much, if you say it.
At any request?
I wouldn't say at any request. I may give a little, because I may not understand, but I will oblige you.
Because, you know, most of our language comes from the thought of rejected requests. So that's why, you know, most things are spoken in windows and so on and so forth, because of, you know, not always easy to deal with.
That's where relationships need to improve. It absolutely needs to improve, because if I say something to him, then he'll change it. Why not do the same for me? If you want me to change an area, just say it. And it don't matter if it hurts my feelings or not. You're bringing how you feel to somebody, and then it's up to me to change it. It puts the responsibility on me, but now it's weighted off you. So just say it. So if you want us to listen, I need you right now. I need you to listen. I need my wife. Listen. Got you. And then there's plenty of times I will shut the door and lock it.
So you can't tell me that women don't have as many hidden cues that you just automatically want understood. So why can't we have, you know, those same cues and innuendos to be understood as well?
Because
You know, y'all can throw those things like, yo, you just supposed to know.
no, no, because it's that's not just no. Like you're supposed to be direct. If you want me to, if he wants,
maybe
if,
you're one in the small bunch.
no, because I'm just like, if he doesn't want me to do something, say it. Say it.
I don't know.
Don't assume. Don't pun intended. Don't do none of that. Tell me, and I'll be like, all right, because I'm most certainly, because he knows I'm very vocal. I will most certainly tell him that wasn't cool. Or I need you to have my back on this. Say this, say that. You know what I mean? It's a matter of just.
I don't know, because like you even see that narrative and like, you know, in the media, like in certain movies portray what I just explained. Like, you know, that same narrative, and I think it even comes into reality. You know, of both counterparts having those, you know, hidden cues or things that, you know, certain actions are supposed to provoke other actions from the other spouse and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but no, I think the what everybody problem is the lack of communication, the lack of directness. I say that all the time. Like, you have to tell me. And the fear of being rejected is not an excuse of not to tell me. You have to find an approach, even if it's writing a letter or something. Because I used to write him letters in the beginning. Like I did, because I had to get it all out. Because he didn't listen, nor did he understood what I was trying to say. So I would just write it. Any format works. It's just you have to get the communication. But now, like when he said touch, because I'm thinking touch because I give him. So I'm thinking touch. But then when y'all flipped it, I'm like, oh, that's what he meant. But if there's times where we're lacking, I will say, I'm just tired. I'm in my bag right now. You have to forgive me. I'm sorry. It's not you. It's me. I will get my life right. I have said that to him. Bear with me.
At what point in the 14 years did you get to this point?
Of communicating that?
Yeah. How long did it take you within the 14?
Probably about 12 to 13.
Yeah, so now you understand why we act the way we act. If it's
But it's patience.
13 years?
Patience.
I got it.
Look,
You asked me to have
it
God
was,
like
but
this.
we put up with a lot with y'all. It took me 13 years for him to finally, just one area.
Well, he a little slow, so.
Whatever, for him to finally get it, and we were meshed after that. But like I said, it's a two-way street.
I think it's unfair that you're speaking of a point of maturity. You know, like we're forgetting, like I said in our childhood portion of the conversation, you know, you have to recount that beginning in order to be fine in your present.
Okay, so what's your beginning that you need to be fine in your present?
Why are we going there?
Because I'm asking you. I'm fine with my beginning, and I'm good with
No,
my
what I'm
present.
saying was you're speaking of your mature point. Like you were not within, you know, those areas needed work 13 years, all throughout those 13 years up until now, year 14. That's what I'm saying.
So
you know, so your viewers may not be at year 14 right now. They're probably
but they're coming from the mature point, which means change can take place. Is what I'm saying.
But again, you're speaking of it being easy, like it just okay. There you go.
My forums is not so much. It's dialogue. It's not so much. Here's the steps to change. I don't have that much time. But here's the dialogue. Follow the page, read the book, follow the ministry, text, call, pray. We can get this because everything's a process. Everything.
Thank you. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, everything's a process.
Like I said,
but you would know that. You would know that. Oh, see, don't not be dropping my stuff. But everything's a process. But
absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, everything's a process.
That's all I wanted.
Because you're basing what you're saying on 7 years, and then we got 14. You see what I'm saying?
Right. I
So-
totally dig it.
Yeah. You're looking to get further up in your marriage, and that's understandable because we was there 7 years ago.
Well,
But
you were actually there until last year.
no, but we got. I said one area.
Fine.
You know, one area that we constantly, it finally clicked in, and we got it.
Correct.
Now, other areas, I'm not saying we're still not growing, but there's nothing for me to be like, let's talk. There's nothing for him to come to me and say, let's talk, and then we'll find a solution. I don't think it's so much more a battle because I'm gonna hear him out, because he knows I got his back. Whether I'm right or wrong or indifferent, he's gonna say how he feel, and then if it's in my power to change it, I'm gonna change it. If it's not in my power at the moment, or I don't understand, then I'll say, well, I don't understand, but let's pray about it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the maturity.
And that's where we are.
Yeah,
You know,
that's the
where
maturity we have. And I'm not saying we're not
like I s-
problemless.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, marriage is, you know, an ever growing process. You know, the process never ends until
Right.
death do us part.
Right.
And you know, we're all at different stages, and that's why I just wanted to bring it out that we're all at different stages. And you know, we don't know, the viewers that are watching or going to watch. You know, we have to make sure that we mention those things that, you know, my beginnings didn't always look like this, but understandable.
Yeah. Because you gotta also understand, I have followers, so they're maturing.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Great. First time on the show.
Won't be the last time. Won't be the last.
So, but yeah, I get your point. But yeah, changes can come, and it's a process. It's absolutely a process.
Always, always,
Mhm.
always.
So, I think I'm out. Yeah, pretty much out of time.
Yeah. Y'all got a little free overtime today because the conversation got heated. Well, not heated, but good point of debate right there. Good point of debate.
So, thank you guys for tuning in. We're about to close out. So, again, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed our men's forum. If you would like to support the ministry, you can purchase the book Relationship Matters Ministry. It's on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, as well as the website. Author House as well. authorhouse.com. And then on the website at relationshipmattersministries.com. The book is $10.99, so please support. You can also get your t-shirts for $20, all sizes, all colors, 2 different logos. We got you covered. So stay in the know. This will be our last forum until September, so I'm sorry. I know y'all say, oh, but it's time to enjoy the heat and vacation time, and I'm out of work for the summer, so I'm going to enjoy my family and my kids. So I want to say thank you to my husband for coming in, for my new friend. I like his wife. My homie, he's a good guy. We just mess with each other, but he's a good guy. I'm impressed by your intelligence and your wisdom.
She thought I was a dummy.
At being 27. I didn't think it was a dummy. I just thought, but whatever. But he's really a good guy. He really is. And I always enjoy the conversations. I really do. He challenges my thinking. I know I challenge his. Penn State against Drexel. Who's gonna win? So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys. Stay connected. Follow us on Facebook and all our social media sites. Love you until next time.